What's going on, pursuers? Welcome to The Pursuit of Calling, the podcast that provides you with the strategies and tools needed to successfully discover and pursue your calling. Whether it's through inspiring stories, thought-provoking interviews, or quick, insightful episodes on personal growth and development, we've got you covered. I'm your host, Thomas Carney. Enjoy the episode. All right, so I was on a walk the other day, and I was thinking about what I was thinking about what I was going to record for the episode this week, and a thought popped into my head. I was like, how do I want to add value to my listeners today? How do I want to add value to my listeners? And I was like, that's a great topic. Being part of Maxwell Leadership, I get to hear a lot about the Maxwell values. And one of them is being a person of value who adds value to people. It might sound arrogant to say I'm a person of value, but believing that in myself, or believing that if you believe that in yourself, that you're a person of value, then in turn that means you add value to people. That's what people of value do. So I thought of this in terms of what's the difference between a person who gives value and a person that takes it away. So in my head, I was like, okay, we have givers and we have takers. A giver is intentional with people, whether that be how they spend their time, money, or attention when they're with these people, when they're with others. A taker spends time with people in order to get something from them, whether that be their time, money, or attention. A giver looks for ways to serve others, and a taker looks for ways to be served by others. A giver wonders how they can add value to others, and a taker wonders how they can gain value from others. So when I was on my walk, let me think. Let me ask you, what does that make you think of? And are any of those areas, like, are you more of a giver, or are you more of a taker? And I think most of us would say, oh, I'm more of a giver. A lot of us don't want to think that we're takers. We don't want to think that we're taking value away from anybody. And maybe that's not true in every area of your life, but maybe it is true in a few. Maybe it is true with certain people. So think about that. Think about maybe there's people that you don't like even, and maybe there's people that you don't like that you actually, and they take value away from you. So so in turn, you're taking value away from them. How could you add value to those people? How could you stop being a taker in that situation? So John Maxwell, he says he does 5 things every single day. He said he adds value to people. He said he values people. He said he thinks of ways to add value to people. He looks for ways to add value to people. He does things to add value to people. And 5, I think I messed up the 1, but 5, he encourages others to add value to people. That's what the point of this episode is. The point of this episode is to encourage you to add value to others. And it's to encourage you to add value to others through your calling. How do you add value to, how are you specifically equipped by God or to add value to other people? What's your calling? What's your purpose? How do you want people's lives to improve when they cross your path? One way I like to do that, as you know, is through my coaching. And I get to experience the clients' aha moments when they realize their calling in potential and their potential in that calling. Even like there's people that I'm coaching. It's crazy whenever you realize how much more, like whenever people realize how much more potential that they have than they previously thought. I guarantee you, I know within myself too, I guarantee you that there's more potential in you than what you're thinking there is right now. You know, I was even planning on talking about this, and I'm actually going to make an episode on this, which I haven't prepared for yet, but I want to, because it just felt right. There's by the time this episode comes out, I'm going to be 30. I'm recording this on April 26th, and I turn 30 tomorrow, April 27th. And I was just thinking about these last 10 years, and you might be thinking, where the heck am I going with this? I've been thinking over the last 10 years and how I've grown, how the potential I had, I didn't know about. I didn't know the potential that I had. I didn't know there was any potential to have. When I was 20, I didn't know what kind of potential I would have when I was 30. When I was 20, I didn't know what kind of potential I would have when I was 25. I didn't know the type of people that were going to be adding value to my life in these last 10 years, in this last decade. I didn't know the type of people that would be put in my path that were specifically adding value to me, to then influence me without even them even knowing it, to add value to others. That's what the calling in everybody's life. Now, I say everybody has a specific calling. Sorry, I got to get my words out. And it's true. However, the purpose of that calling, and I've said it before, your calling is not for you. Your calling is to add value to other people around you. Your calling goes with you wherever you go. Your calling is a positive thing. It's an active thing to pursue your calling. So how can you use this calling, use this purpose as a value add to other people's lives? Oh, guys, you really got to think about that one. Like, if you haven't answered the question yet, I asked before and I've asked it on previous episodes, but how do you want people's lives to improve having crossed your path? Dude, you got to answer that question. You got to answer that question. How do you want people's lives to improve when they cross your path? After they leave your presence, how should their life be better? What value are you adding to them? Maybe you're thinking the context that you can't wrap your mind around that context. Maybe you're thinking like, you know what? Let me give you a quick example. Actually, so the way I answer that question is that I want people's lives to improve with being given a tool to pursue their calling well, and pursue or discover their calling well. And that's not always by me like directly saying like, here's a book. Sometimes it is, or like, here's a different resource. Here's a YouTube video. It's not always like that. Sometimes it's just being an example. How do I want somebody's life to improve having crossed my path? It's by living in my purpose. It's by choosing my calling, by choosing to live in my calling. That example, that is seen by those other people, and it influences them. I know that because people tell me. I know that because it's happening. It has happened. It's happening. It's going to continue to happen, and it happens with you too. Whatever you're living in is what people are being influenced by. Oh, come on. Whatever you're living in, that's what people are being influenced by. If you're living in doubt, if you're living in shame, now, if you're living in doubt, if you're living in shame, if you're living in uncertainty of what's next, people might not be like, oh man, that person's not sure of themselves. Sometimes they would be, but maybe they're not always like that. But maybe they're just being influenced in a way, our value is being added to them in a way that isn't to the extent that could be if you're truly living in your calling. That makes sense? I might have jumbled that up a little bit. This was off the cuff, off the dome. Because frankly, I didn't have enough notes. I got to the bottom. I was like, I got more to say. But guys, what is your calling? What is your purpose? How do you live in that well? And how do you add value to people? I'm gonna say the 5 things that John Maxwell says he does every single day. He says he values people. 1. 2, he said he thinks of ways to add value to people. 3, he looks for ways to add value to people. That's 3. Did I repeat myself? I might have. 4, he does things that add value to people. And 5, he encourages others to add value to people. So what I said was people are influenced and people get value through you just living your life in your calling. But then there's also the intentional piece. Like John is saying, he's intentionally adding value to people. He's intentionally saying he does things that add value to people. And these are things that he's thought about. These things that he's looking for. How can you serve others? Instead of being seek to be served, how can you serve? Another great way I'm doing that, and you already know this, however, final plug, and then we're going to wrap up the episode. One new way I'm doing this is I'm opening up a 4-week mastermind. Now, if you're familiar with a church small group, it's kind of like that actually, except it's 100% focused on personal growth. Now, this is on the first 4 chapters of the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. And that by John Maxwell, if you didn't know. And what these 4 weeks do, essentially, it's a conversation amongst a group of people, maximum about 10. That is where each person gets to share how they're growing in that area of that chapter of that law of growth, and then we get to discuss how we're going to add it to our own lives, and then we get to have a conversation. We get to get feedback from other people and get to encourage each other. So if you want to sign up for that, I'm going to post a Google form in the show notes. So go ahead and check that out. And then, guys, I'm going to leave you with this. Imagine a world where everyone intentionally added value to those around them. Think about what we went over today. Are you intentionally looking for ways to add value to the people in your life? Are you a giver or are you a taker? All right, guys. I'm going to leave you with that. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Pursuit of Calling podcast. If you enjoyed this, share it. Share it with your friends. Share the link. Give this podcast a 5-star review. Guys, you know it. Keep pursuing your calling well.